Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to talk about why tattoos take long, or at the very least for some artists, why they may take some time to apply. So by the end of this video, hopefully you can click away with some information that you don't have right now. Should you have any questions at all at any point throughout this video, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I will do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. With that being said, let's get right on into this. Let's get back into the million-dollar question here. Why tattoos take long? Why do tattoos take long? Why may some artists take longer over others? I'm going to kind of touch base on these and let you know some opinions on how I feel about why tattoos take long. The first thing that comes to mind is technical. That's the first word that comes to mind, and from multiple standpoints. Tattoos are very technical to apply depending on styles. Some styles are definitely easier over others. However, there still has to be a certain level of technical expertise involved for any artist to apply a tattoo correctly, in my opinion. So with the understanding that tattoos are a technical process, there are multiple variables to be considered, all the way from the machine that an artist uses, how long an artist has been tattooing, their capabilities, their style and specialty. All of this matters, all the way down to the needle, to the ink. Everything matters. So you can kind of see, just from listing off some of these key points within the world of tattooing, it gets very technical. Are you wanting to develop your tattooing skill sets? Now you can practice and develop anytime, any place, with an assortment of tattooing workbooks that I've created. With these assorted tattooing workbooks, we can practice our basic lining all the way to advanced lining. We can practice shading, shading placement, dot work, textures, and more. All we are going to need is a tattoo workbook of mine. We can use a pencil, pen. We can even use a tattoo machine with a ballpoint cartridge to develop our tattooing abilities further. That means that we don't need tattoo ink, we don't need napkins or petroleum jelly to get to practicing. Simply open one of my tattooing workbooks and get going. It really is that easy. You can get your hands on one of my developmental tattooing assorted workbooks by simply clicking the links in my description or in the pinned comment section below, or navigating on over to Amazon.com, typing in Daniel Yuck, and you'll see all of the assorted tattoo workbooks that I've created come up. If you have an Amazon account, be sure to follow my Amazon author page as well, as I would greatly appreciate your support. Should you have any questions at all, drop them in the comment section down below. I will do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. With that being said, let's get right back into this video. Even setting up for a tattoo alone can take an artist anywhere from maybe 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how they go about setting up, how everything is. Some artists streamline their setup to where it takes them 10 minutes. Everyone's different. So some artists care about that time setup, some don't. So that's another reason to consider. So you can kind of see though that it does get very technical within the world of tattooing. This right here, I feel, is probably the number one reason why tattoos take long. Keep in mind, I'm only talking about gear, selection, preferences. I'm not really talking about the actual technical application. So just this one word is a world of its own. Please forgive my poor penmanship here. However, I do feel like this gets my points across here. So you can see that when it comes to tattooing, it is definitely a technical process. You can see that this is a small list that I came up with here, and I could have kept going, but I wanted to keep it kind of reasonable for this video to kind of consume some key points of information on why I feel like tattoos take long. When it comes to the technicality in tattooing, you can see that there's technical aspects that we need to consider. Even as the person getting the tattoo, selecting an artist is definitely a technical aspect that may take a person some time. If you're looking for specific styles of designs, if you're looking for someone that does like bodysuits and specializes in that, or specific styles in general, then even finding an artist that meets your wants, needs, and expectations can definitely take some time. This, I feel, is a part of the technical process. Now, artist preferences. Every artist is different. Some artists prefer tattoo machines that are short pin style tattoo machines. Others prefer coils. Artist ability is definitely also going to vary in terms of how long they've been tattooing, how good they are, what they can and can't do. Every single artist has various capabilities and different limitations. So select artists in correspondence to your wants and needs. I feel another technical aspect would be the art, not only the preferences and ability, but an artist's specialty. So let's say, for example, one artist specializes like in fine detailed micro tattoos when another specializes in full body suits. You get the idea. So even the specialty is from a technical standpoint, and all of this is going to come into play here in a moment. I know that some of you may be asking, well, how does this come into the time aspect of tattooing? This area right here is more so kind of corresponding to the time aspect of tattooing that is related to this area right here. Keep in mind, this standpoint right here is more from the person that's going to be getting the tattoo and the artist. This area right here is specific to the tattoo process application. So there are multiple technical fronts within the world of tattooing, I feel, which is why I'm touching base the way that I am here on this thought process here. So some technical considerations that we as the artists consider that contribute to the time length of any tattoo are going to be the needle depth, clean saturation, hand speed, voltage, angles, ink flow, visibility, sizing, RPMs for the needle. Allow me to explain a little bit more on how this contributes to a time factor here within tattooing. So let's say, for example, if we are just beginning and we bite off more than we can chew, which would be an artist that just began and they're tattooing human skin. We may not be familiar with any of these fundamentals because we also have to remember from a technical standpoint, all of these fundamentals right here have to work together in order to produce clean, solid, consistent, saturated results. There is a standard with the technical application within the world of tattooing, and that is just that. Each and every time we pull a line, the line should be clean, clean, solid, consistent, and saturated, and correspond to the line weight that they are using. So let's say, for example, if an artist is using an 11 round shader, the line weight when they wipe away that remains should be clean, solid, consistent, and saturated. And not only that, it should also be corresponding to the line weight that they're using. So not understanding needle depth can contribute to accomplishing, I guess, inconsistent results. This right here is going to contribute to having to double up. If we are doing lines and having to double up each and every single time, then obviously the tattoo is going to take a little bit longer because we aren't familiar with needle depth. Let's say, for example, if we aren't familiar with hand speed to voltage, that's also going to kind of give us the same adversity that needle depth will. And these are all going to kind of work in conjunction together to really mess things up. So let's say if we're not familiar with hand speed and voltage and we're applying the lines, then we're not going to apply the line correctly. So therefore, let's say if a line isn't applied correctly on human skin, chances of us having to double up are greater. Let's say if we aren't experienced and we're moving too quickly and we're scratching the skin, then we're going to start messing up the skin, potentially scarring, creating textured rays, healing. You get the idea. So there are multiple adversities that can come from not being real technical when applying a tattoo. Let's say, for example, we aren't familiar with hand speed and voltage and we're not familiar with angles. So let's say I'm using a 14 round shader, which is a pretty bold line weight. If I'm off to the side, then the line's going to come out inconsistent and we're not going to be technically correct. We have to be technically correct each and every single time we apply a tattoo. That should be the standard whenever we get into tattooing, is to shoot to be technically sound each and every time we tattoo. Now, if my angle is off, that's also going to yield inconsistencies. Hand speed to voltage can yield also not only inconsistencies, but that can also yield damage on the skin, scarring, textured healing. Needle depth is going to yield inconsistencies. Now, on top of that, ink flow. Let's say I'm not mindful and I'm not dipping back, which also takes time to kind of, go back, dip for ink, come back, apply the line, wipe away, go back, dip for ink, apply the line, and wipe away. And this is, in reality, the tattooing process. I feel this technical standpoint is directly corresponding to how long a tattoo can take. Now, let's say everything is good, but we're having poor visibility. Let's just say when we're wiping, it's becoming a mess, and we don't want to wipe too much to prevent losing a stencil. So visibility can also contribute to a time session being a little bit longer because it's a bit harder to see. So if visibility was an issue with a tattoo session, how I can see this going down is an artist, if they were struggling to see, then they probably would finish the design and then maybe get some water on a napkin of some sort and then wipe away as cleanly as they can while removing minimal of the stencil so that way they can finish. So you can kind of see this process can also be time consuming, as we want to be real meticulous as to not remove any stencil that we still need to apply. So you can kind of see and get an idea from the technical standpoint that tattooing can be really time consuming, especially if we are striving to do each and every single tattoo as sound as we can. Another big variable is sizing. Obviously, the bigger the tattoo, the longer it's going to take to apply. There's often times where I'm sure people get a little bit impatient. Let's say they want a sleeve. Let's say they want it done in 2 hours. To get a clean sleeve, practically, it's just not technically sound or correct that we can get a full-on sleeve in, let's say, 2 hours. I don't think that's possible just from a technical standpoint. I'm not saying that there aren't artists out there that aren't capable of pulling off a full, clean, smooth, blended, clean shading, full-on sleeve within a 2-hour span. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, from a technical standpoint, I don't see that being, I guess, possible all the way through, because rounds per minute, this right here alone contributes to how long a tattoo session can take. Rounds per minute is essentially this: how long a needle cycles and how long it takes to create one full round. So when the needle is pushed, it starts at a certain point and it's going to make one full circle. In that circle, the needle is going to be pushed down and come back in. So you can kind of get the idea. That's going to be a round per minute. So every round, so the circle is going to make, the motor is going to push the needle. So that's 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, 4 round. You get the idea. So let's say if an artist runs at a lower voltage, then the rounds per minute that they're making are going to be a lot lower than someone who runs at around 7 or 8. The higher the voltage, the more rounds per minute that a machine makes. The lower the voltage, the less rounds per minute that a machine is going to make. Here is where it factors into the technical standpoint. Rounds per minute, the lower rounds that a needle is making, the slower we're going to have to move, which obviously is going to create more time within a tattoo session. Every single artist is different. I don't feel that we should strive for speed ever. We should always strive for clean, solid, consistent, saturated lines and packing, as well as with color. We should also strive for smooth gradients, like with our color blending or shading. Everything should be nice, clean, solid, consistent, and saturated and smooth, depending on the application and design at hand. That should be the goal, while being able to do that each and every time. I feel like most tattoo sessions time is going to be taken up from this area right here. It's going to be taken up majority because of the technicalities that go into applying a clean tattoo. Now, in my opinion, there are going to be other, variables to consider that do also contribute to a tattoo session running on longer or being long, such as taking a break. If it's a good tattoo artist and you're going to be doing a long day session, let's say if you're doing maybe even 6 hours plus, maybe even 5, then the artist will take like maybe a 30-minute break. You all both will eat, kind of refuel, take a quick break while this is happening, maybe have some wraparound with like some sort of like numbing agent like Bactine to kind of help soothe the pain as well. Something like this I can also be seen as, normal and considered in the tattooing process that would contribute to extending the time length of a session. However, I don't feel like the majority of the time would be there. It would be in the technical process, in the actual technical application. I want to switch on over to a different angle to kind of touch base a little bit more on the technical reason, just to kind of give you a visual representation as to why tattoos take long. Now, I explained the technical standpoint, but I want to give you that visual here. Let me know in the comment section down below what your longest tattoo session has been, why, some things that you did in between, and what else you feel like takes up time within a tattoo session. With that being said, let's go ahead and switch on over to a different angle. So from here, I want to kind of demonstrate real time some of the key points that I'm mentioning here. I'm going to use an OG Produce 5 round shader to kind of get the points across, because I feel like with the round shader we can really see some points that I want to demonstrate here. This is what the 5 round shader looks like right here. We're going to be demonstrating with this design. Me as the artist, I prefer to pick a 5 round shader for this here. I'm also going to be using an OG Produce. I believe this is going to be the Frequency Master Tattoo Machine, if I'm correct. I don't know the name off the top, but I could be wrong, but I could be right. But this is a short pen style tattoo machine. So these are variables that we as the artist have to consider. Me as the artist, I prefer short pen style tattoo machines, and that's just the approach that I would rather take, and that's what I would rather use versus coils. So that is my artistic preference. Back to the technical sheet I made a little while ago. So with my selection, you can see that my artistry is specializing here in small tattoos like this, like small anime tattoos, interesting kind of demonstration for this video. And From here, I'm going to have to demonstrate a series of technical steps that have to be correct. So me as the artist, I have to align my needle depth, I have to align my hand speed to my voltage, I have to have the correct angle. I not only have to have the correct angle, but I have to have consistent solid ink flow. On top of that, I have to be able to have good visibility to see the design and see where I'm going. You kind of get the idea. All of these variables have to work together. My posture, my comfort, and my positioning also has to be correct so I can get a good shot here on this camera. Okay, so from here, as an artist, technically, if I'm not focused on aligning all of these fundamentals, I'm going to accomplish nothing but inconsistencies. So let's say, for example, if I'm not aligning these fundamentals for whatever reason, I'm going to start here. You can see that I'm experiencing a lot of pulling. So off the bat, I can't see what I'm doing. I have to now stop, dab away, and you can kind of see how little things like this can contribute to why a tattoo can tend to take longer. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and reposition myself. I wasn't comfortable by any means. As you can see, it kind of messed up there at the beginning, but you can see real time why tattoos can take long. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and go back. And let's say if I wasn't focused on those fundamentals, and I'm looking at this line, although it is darker than the purple light stencil that's there, that's not what it's supposed to look like. Keep in mind, we have a certain standard when we tattoo. It should read solid, clean, consistent, and saturated. My voltage right now is at around 7.5 volts. I feel like that is a healthy voltage range, and I'm using a 4mm stroke as well, which is a bit harder of a hit. So I feel like that is correct. What I need to do is slow my hand down a little bit. I'm getting a sort of faded presence to my line, and I can't have that. So what I'm going to do is slow it down, identify my point A, and then I'm just simply going to let the needle make its rounds per minute before I move on to the next part. So you can see, like, let me taper out right here. You can see the difference when I let the needle cycle around to deposit the ink in a clean, consistent, solid manner versus where I kind of rushed it through. Let me kind of rush it back this way here. And you can see if I press down a little bit harder, I'm achieving a little bit solid of a look here. However, the line is still very inconsistent. It still has a very faded presence to it, which is what we don't want versus this line right here, which is more like a power line. It looks very strong, it looks powerful, and it's going to stand the test of time. So you can see, not only do I have to go back and double up on this line here, that's also going to take a little bit more time. I also have to figure out how I'm going to apply the rest of this design like that, so that way I get these clean results here. So as you can see, I'm going to pick up where I left off, and I'm going to move at a slow, steady, consistent pace. You can see that this technical application of applying a tattoo just kind of naturally takes time. I feel like tattoos are just naturally time consuming. It's what they are. It's definitely a part of the process. I feel like if you ever do get a client that's kind of rushing, you have to tell them kind of, I guess, how it is. Like, you can't rush. They can't pay you to rush. It's not the way to go. You can't give them what they were asking for if you rush. That's not how it works because of the technical standpoint. Look, allow me to show you again. Let's say if I don't let my needles make the rounds per minute that it needs to make, or if I'm not holding it at the correct angle, I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to actually do both. I'm going to move too fast, and I'm going to hold at an incorrect angle right here, and I'm going to see what I yield. So I moved way too fast, and the angle was a bit off. Not too much, but it was definitely off, and you can kind of see that from the line weight fluctuation from right here, how it gets very, very thin right here and very, very faded presence to thicker over here again. So you can see that not only was my hand speed and voltage off, so was my angle, and the results that it yielded are going to be less than desirable. This should not be the standard. If I completed the whole tattoo like this, it's actually kind of, let's see if we can kind of line the whole thing like this here. You can see I'm making wobble mistakes all over the place. This isn't the way that you want to go about applying a tattoo. So if you want your artist to kind of be fast, then you can kind of expect work to be like this, which is exactly what we don't want. Because from a technical standpoint, we have to let the needle do its thing. Even this may look like a good line to people. However, if I apply a little ointment and I wipe away, fresh, it looks fine, sure, but give it about a year or so, it's definitely going to be inconsistent. If it doesn't fall out, if it makes it through the healing process, it's always going to be faded no matter what. That's exactly what we want to stay away from. Sure, I'm moving a lot faster, and sure, this tattoo is almost done. However, is it technically sound? Absolutely not. I'm going to go ahead and continue that over here. There we go. Even if I press a little bit harder, it really doesn't help. It just causes more damage. So that's obviously not the way to go. Okay, so to some, again, this may seem like it's a good tattoo, like it's okay, and that it's applied correctly. But if I zoom in and show you this close up, you're not going to be feeling that way. Allow me to do so. So if you take a look here, the only area that's sound and technically applied correct is the area right here that we focused on in the beginning. Over here, none of this is applied correctly. All of this is improperly applied. It's going to heal poorly, and it already looks like it has a sort of like faded tone to it, which is bad. You don't want people to pay for that. You don't want to be charging for a sort of faded presence to your tattoos. You want them to be powerful. You want them to be clean. You want them to be consistent, solid, and saturated, which that's not what this tattoo is. So once again, if you want a fast tattoo artist, then I can't really, say anything for that. I would rather go for an artist who focuses on the technical application, so that way they can apply the cleanest tattoo that they can apply. That's probably the better way to go. As you can see from these results, faster doesn't necessarily mean better. If anything, within the world of tattooing, faster equates to this sort of quality tattoo, in my opinion. I'll make another full in-depth video on why we shouldn't rush, but for this I kind of want to show you why tattoos tend to take long. And you can see, even in real time, this video is probably going to run on for a while because tattoos take long. So you can see from here I have a choice to make. If I care enough, then I'm going to go back over all of this with a better technical application to apply this in a cleaner manner. So what that would look like would be to kind of keep my voltage the same, but I'm going to slow my hand speed down and focus more on my angles. So from here, let's say for example, I start right here. I'm going to slow down a little bit. Bring the needle around this way. And reconnect over here. You can see that this is clean, so I don't really need to do much over here, but if there's any inconsistencies that I see, I'm going to patch them up. And I'm going to repeat that with the rest of the design. And you're going to notice that doing this is going to slow down tremendously versus the way that I applied everything else. And you can see already right now that the process to apply this is tremendously slower. And it's going to be, and that is what it is. That's the reason why tattooing takes long. I don't feel like striving to be a fast tattoo artist is any merit. However, let me touch base on this real quick while we're here. Just because I'm saying tattoos are long and probably shouldn't be long is kind of what I'm suggesting, it doesn't mean that tattoo artists don't get seasoned with their application and just get really good and then they get more efficient. Now, efficient tattoo artists aren't what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about tattoo artists that move quickly, producing less than quality results. Believe me, I've seen many artists out there that are very efficient, that are quick and produce amazing results. That's just through years of trial and error, and that's not to take away the work that they've done or anything like that. I'm specifically referring to artists that aren't efficient with being quick. We have to go through the processes of being learning and developing to get that seasoned. You can see that the application tremendously slowed down. There we go, and then I'm just going to essentially repeat what I did earlier all over again, but just at a steadier pace this time. And you can see that there were plenty of mistakes made, losing some integrity of the design. But if an artist tend to rush the way that you saw me do it here and then they're going back over, this is probably why a session can take long. I'm not saying this is why your artist took long. I'm just saying this is one of the million reasons that contribute to the time length of a tattoo session. And then I'm going to navigate this way over here. I think it's just a handful of lines here and I'm done. I can kind of conclude the video, but I think that it'd be better just to kind of show you real time. I'll leave timestamps down below so that way if you didn't want to see all of this, I'll go ahead and skip to the top view. So you can see now it takes time to get clean, solid, consistent results. Now everything's looking a lot more powerful. Although we lost a little bit of integrity on some of the eye and the teeth, it still looks very powerful. And at initial impressions, it's going to read as a character it was meant to be. We didn't lose too bad there. And all I have to do now is just this area right here, and this would be applied. So from here, I'm going to kind of adjust accordingly. Make sure that I have adequate ink flow. As you can see, I'm letting the needle cycle, making all the rounds per minute that it needs to make to apply the line like that. I want the lines to read powerful and clean as they are here. Now I'm going to do this again. As you can see, when I adjust my technical application, I start moving slower. Yes, it does extend the length of the tattoo session. However, you can see that it yields far better results, and I feel like any client would appreciate this. Here we are at a top view, and this is the final result for this little guy right here. As you can see earlier, when we began to apply this design, it had a sort of faded presence to it, and that's with the tattoo being freshly applied. Imagine what it would look like when it would be healed on human skin. It's definitely not going to be a good outcome. You can kind of see that we were able to recover that fumble and produce a good tattoo by simply worrying and focusing more on the technical aspect, which definitely took more time. However, we yielded better results. Again, I feel like any client would definitely appreciate that. I feel like at this point, this would be a great place to conclude the video. Now, keep in mind, I've only touched base on like bare bone, basic technical aspects. I didn't say anything or mention shading not once in this video, I don't believe, up until now. But if I were to go and technically apply shading, that could be another about maybe 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the type of skin I'm working with and the inks that I am using. So you can kind of see that there's still more time that needs to be put in to completing this design. You can see this design has shading, so this design I feel should have shading to kind of complete it. But for this video, I kind of wanted to keep it basic to give you a good example and give you some insight as to why tattoos tend to take long. So if you are a client and you're looking to get a tattoo, you can anticipate being in a chair a couple of hours depending on the tattoo that you're going to be getting. If you are a tattoo artist, you can also anticipate on tattooing 4 hours on end each time you accept a client's tattoo. That'll be it for this one. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below, and I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. You have a great day. Are you needing or wanting tattoo guidance? What about 4K high quality step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions? Or maybe one-on-one tattoo support to get answers to your questions that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist? You can now become a Patreon where you will gain access to high quality 4K exclusive step-by-step follow-along tattoo sessions. I will be tattooing with you in a one-on-one step-by-step manner where I will be explaining what I am doing and why every step of the way. I will also be doing this in a high quality 4K format for your optimal viewing experience. On top of the one-on-one support and on top of the step-by-step tattoo session guidance, you will also gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and place on your end to further develop your skill sets. I will leave a link for you in the description or in the pinned comment section below, or you can head on over to patreon.com/Daniel Yuck. When you become a Patreon, you will be getting one-on-one support where you can ask me as many questions as you'd like that are specifically tailored to your wants and needs as the artist, You will gain access to exclusive tattoo stencils that you can download and practice on your end. You'll also gain access to exclusive high quality 4K footage where I walk you through each and every tattoo session in a one-on-one step-by-step manner where I explain all the what's and why's along the way. Become a Patreon today. Thank you for your support in advance. I greatly appreciate you.